Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some of our first impressions of the latest games releasing. It's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077. We've been waiting for this game since like 2012 when it was first announced. 2012. The first Before You Buy video wasn't even until 2015. And while I have you for a second looking back, I'll be quick. I just want to say thanks for being here. Thanks for being along for the ride. You know, when I started Before You Buy videos with Arkham Knight, I had no idea what it would become. I do all the work on like 90% of these videos, and it takes a lot, so I just want to say I'm grateful for you guys watching. I'm happy to do this as a job, and I'm really glad you guys have shown up consistently through the years, especially considering I haven't really changed the format or anything, but again, thank you so much. Anyways, Cyberpunk 2077. Got access to it one day prior to launch, so I've been playing it non-stop, binging it, and there's a lot to say, so bear with me. Some disclaimers here. I'm limiting footage here to early stuff. There's a prologue, a long intro period, and a bit after that. Nothing really much more there, and I left big stuff out because I know people are excited and are worried about spoilers, and this is predominantly PC gameplay, but I sprinkled in some gameplay from the other platforms too, which we will label, and I know it's a big concern for everyone, so we will get to that in a bit. Now, the game itself, this is what I want to talk about, the meat and potatoes here, man. Thankfully, it's very good. However, it's a game of butts. Like, not like butts, but like butts. Many of the elements here have, like, this aspect is great, but... So this is, of course, all up to your taste. Some people will love it all. I'm just going to go through everything. CD Projekt Red has succeeded most in the world that they built here. Night City, that cyberpunk vibe, and the respect of the tabletop game it's based on, the lore, all that stuff, man, it's great. If you were sold on the cyberpunk aesthetic and the vibe and the themes alone, I think you will be satisfied here. Night City is an incredible freaking world to explore. It's filled with tons of things to see, people to talk to, vendors, food, side quests. It all feels new and different. Yes, a lot of it is traditional stuff we've seen in other RPGs, but not really totally like this, implemented like this, spread out in a world like this, looking like this. And this, for me, was the main appeal of the game. There are some corners of the city that felt like they were like less intensely designed and detailed, just kind of like a background area, copy and pasted or thrown in, not a lot of thought put into. And I still found myself scouring every inch of the city, including those like less paid attention to areas, just slowing down while driving, checking stuff out, because all of it is just that cool and interesting and immersive to me personally. The enjoyment of Night City is going to depend on where you play, though, and I'll get to that soon. And the world is not perfect, though. I'll admit some of it is technically like set dressing. You know, NPCs in particular seem super dumb and lifeless and don't really have that like RPG world life to them with routines and stuff like that you'd expect from this game. They don't really react much to anything. It's not really convincing. It's weird. And it's an example of you will find weird things throughout this game where the cracks show. I personally didn't hang on to every single word CD Projekt Red has said for the last 5, 6, however freaking long years. So there might be smaller things that you were technically excited about that aren't here. You choose one of 3 life path backstories. I mained Corpo, and then I went back and tested Street Kid mode and played for a few hours there on a different platform. These backstories are shockingly short. Expected a little more from them, you know, the whole intro thing after they talked it up. But once you get into the world, it comes up occasionally in some interesting and some kind of whatever ways, but you're quickly thrust into a world of mercenary work and heisting, and without spoiling things, Keanu Reeves shows up and things get way more complex pretty quickly, and he's with you for a lot of the game, and he does great. It's super entertaining. Love the guy. The story is a lot more personality driven and has a lot of real heart and charm to it than I expected. It's not just cool guy edgelord stuff. There is some great character focus here, and you'll get glued to some of the characters, especially thanks to some really impressive faces and voice acting. The gameplay department is interesting. Combat is purely first-person shooting, stealth, and a bit of melee. Melee is pretty much like any other first-person game. It's just kind of okay, but they add some little tweaks if you level up into it. Stealth can be more compelling. Think Deus Ex style hacking, but kind of amped up thanks to the hyper-connected setting. Although not all enemy encounters feel like as tightly designed for stealth possibilities as I would hope, the amount of opportunities in the environment often make up for that. Like, just make sure you're prepared and buy the right stuff to connect yourself and choose the right skills. Now, as much as I don't think the stealth is is perfect and flawless or super elegant by any means, the way they sell it in this futuristic world is interesting and fun for me personally. Then there's the first-person shooting, and I'm usually pretty skeptical of first-person shooting in games that are more traditionally structured like an RPG, but it's good here. They did a good job. ADS is snappy, the guns feel loud and aggressive and responsive with believable recoil. There's good destruction in the environment for good measure. This is playing through mouse and keyboard, and on controller I bounce back and forth. Yes, enemies have the bullet sponge RPG thing a little bit where they take a lot of shots, including headshots, but upgrading one of the weapon-focused skill trees can help out with that pretty significantly. Then the driving was the other thing I was super skeptical of, but was pleasantly surprised. They pulled it off. You know, a studio that's never really done car driving games. Seems like they nailed it. I straight up love the driving. It's a little bouncy and floaty when you hit stuff, but otherwise it's fast. Handling is pretty good. Drifting and cornering is arcadey enough, but comfortable for open world games like this. And the cars and trucks just straight up, they look awesome. Design-wise, interior and exterior, it's just awesome to see. Now for the RPG stuff. There's a lot to explain. I don't have time for digging into all of it, but you guys know I love character and RPG progression systems, so let's go. Cyberpunk didn't hook me as much on the RPG front as I was hoping. It's not bad, it's just 50-50, and it's personal taste. I didn't find myself getting addicted to any of it. You know, there's a lot of loot, a lot of it feels a bit meaningless, but at least the crafting is straightforward. It's a little grindy, but it's a little bit more satisfying in helping you keep one item or weapon long-term, despite picking up new stuff every 3 minutes. Weapon attachments work nicely too, and they feel significant. The skill tree and leveling up is fine. You know, you level up and dump points into body, intelligence, technical, cool, and for stealth and stuff like that. And then they all inside there have trees which you dump different points into. It's a lot. There's a lot of ways you can go. I do appreciate the freedom of choice here. Most of these things are passive, like engineering buffs to resist explosive damage, or more critical hit chances, or more headshot damage, or more active stuff like faster ADS, more hacking abilities, and each tree rewards you in a bigger, more significant way if you invest deep into it for a long time. There's usually a good, strong unlock at the end of a path. Then there's the cool Cyberpunk body mods you can spend in-game money on that you earn from doing stuff. These are the cool things like enhanced vision, stronger legs to double jump, resistances, blades that come out of your arms for melee damage. These are awesome, and I really enjoyed these more than the actual skill tree stuff. Maybe it was the tangibility of it, maybe it was just the concept behind it or how you get it. They were a grind, but I found them more satisfying to get. On the RPG side, I was, however, bummed to see skill checks and conversations, you know, like the different dialogue choices depending on your character, mostly take a back seat. You know, they are there, but not as often as I was personally hoping, and they rarely actually affect anything. In certain key missions, they can, in some complex and interesting ways, but not as often as I was expecting, like especially for the small stuff. Most of the time, you can just use your life path backstory to access another dialogue option that just kind of gives you more story context and doesn't change much. It's all there, it's all solid, but you know, this is gonna sound weird, but I found the questing and side questing and exploring and shooting and driving way more interesting and appealing than the actual RPG systems themselves. I know that sounds blasphemous. I play a lot of RPGs, but I preferred the moment-to-moment stuff more, especially the side quests. There's some great stuff in there that they just go nuts with and really build out the world. And honestly, don't be too concerned about the game length. Like in the intro period alone, I could have spent like 10 hours right there. Yes, the main quest is only 20 to 30 hours, but the world is bigger than I expected and filled with a lot of cool stuff. Now, of course, if you've been online, you've probably heard this already, but this game is jacked up, man. It should have spent more time in the oven, like a lot of games this year, probably due to development workflows changing because of circumstances, but it's way less excusable in Cyberpunk because there's a lot of issues. Now, I've said this before in videos, I've gone on record, I have a high tolerance for this stuff. Glitches don't bother me too much or distract me, as long as they don't completely break the game or get me stuck or erase my save or anything like that. Some people are way more annoyed by them. That might be you. I get it. Wherever you stand, you should know that this game can be really messy. I've seen characters hold invisible guns, clip through walls, completely disappear, weird visual graphical bugs, NPCs floating, cars explode for no reason, you name it. Now, I have heard from some friends who have had way less issues, and that's cool, but this stuff needs to be patched and updated, and I expect it will. Witcher 3 had some kinks, and they got ironed out too, and the game only got better and better over time. Now, there's another aspect to this, though, that I don't know how fixable it is. Console performance is mostly absolutely abysmal. I am really sorry to report this, but if you're playing this on a base PS4 or a base Xbox One, which the gameplay of all that we are showing now here on screen, you're gonna more likely have a bad time. It feels so undercooked, and it's a shame, man. Streets have less cars and NPCs, the frame rate can drop well below 30, and I had a few game crashes. Not only that, it's just fuzzy, blurry, lower textures, significantly lower resolution, less lighting overall. Straight up kind of looks like do you ever play a Switch port of a game that was on console, and then like it looks like they got it running on Switch, but it's super blurry, for lack of a professional phrase? It's like that. It looks super low res like a Switch port, but it's on your home television or monitor. Now, PS4 Pro and Xbox One X definitely have some improvements, but the frame rate can still struggle. We saw some significant drops and some artifacting, and then the game running in backwards compatibility mode on Xbox Series X or PS5, it's playable. It's a little compromised, but it seems fine. Also, the HDR doesn't seem to be implemented right, so HDR experts out there that I've followed have recommended turning it off for now, and I do agree. It's also just a beast of a game on PC, a total freaking hog, but it's doable at least, and it's nowhere near as broken. The game can still be pretty on consoles, but the base console performance is really a bummer, because I know many of you out there still just have base consoles, and that's fine. But we were expecting to get at least, standard, a game that doesn't look as good, but is at least totally playable and still enjoyable, bare minimum. I think stuff will improve. I really hope it does, but this is the big butt of the game, man. Like, where are you playing it? What's your tolerance for glitches and bugs? And can you put up with 30 frames per second, or can you put up with 20 frames per second? There are experts out there that can break this down. I always recommend Digital Foundry. We don't try to pretend to be super geniuses here. But I will say, for me, if you have any performance concerns on any platform, it's okay to wait. There are so many games out there to catch up on right now. And eventually, this game will fix some bugs and have native next-gen versions and be good to go. Cyberpunk 2077 is a really unique and exciting game that a lot of people clearly worked very hard on. It's entertaining, it's got a cool story, and honestly, some even more interesting side quests. It's got good shooting, cool driving, good characters in a big city that they built that you gotta see for yourself. I'm serious. It's not the RPG game to end all games, no, but it is absolutely 100% worth playing. I recommend it. It's just a matter of where and when you play, and that's a big sticking point. But that's all we have time for today. Hopefully I've helped, or maybe you bought it already and you're just watching this. Whoever you are, I do appreciate you, whether you're a commenter or a lurker. Thank you for being here. Hopefully we steered you in the right direction. This is a before you buy. I give you some pros, cons, and personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours in the comments. Are you playing? What do you think? Do you love the side quests as much as I do? Do you love the main quest as much as I do? Do you love the world? Are you pissed about the performance? Are you playing on PS4 or Xbox? I would love to know your experience or your thoughts on waiting and maybe buying the game in 2021. Whoever you are, let's talk down in the comments. If you want to yell at me more directly, of course, you can always find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Jake Baldino. But thank you guys for watching. Clicking the like button legit helps us. Thank you as always. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.